Hey, nobody's out there, right? I'm gonna say weird personal stuff. If you don't want to hear that, just don't watch this. Just for the record, I'm just now trying to do this thing that I used to every morning. I would spend like an hour and a half drawing some anatomy thing in perspective, and it's kind of like it's like a religious. I don't know if it's religious. It's something. There's something magical about it to me. I don't know. Like maybe I have autism or something like that, or maybe I have some flaw in my brain. But there's something about from the very first time I started doing this, which is I went to animation school. Get to the point, Sean. Long story short, when I went to art school, initially when I was first in art school, I went to fine art school. Fine art school was basically like you did a lot of figure drawing, but it was basically just copying. You know, you hold your thumb and you try to get the thing on the page to look proportional to the thing you're seeing. But everything's kind of flat and you don't really understand what you're drawing. And then when I went to animation school or illustration animation program at San Jose State, they had you sort of like, you couldn't do that. You had to draw a character, but you had to analyze it. You had to draw it from a different angle. And you had to draw it in its own perspective space, because that's what animators do. They have to draw a character, but they have to put it in the appropriate perspective somewhat. They don't always have to do that. Like South Park is kind of flat, but like traditional Disney animation, it's like the characters they consider the perspective when they draw. It's called like solid drawing. And when I started doing that, my brain like really loved that shit. But I'm not good at it. Like I'm not naturally really good at it. But something about doing it, it's like it. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like if I do it regularly, it sounds ridiculous, but it feels slightly like a minor drug experience. Like I feel like my senses are heightened or something like that. And so I think I don't know how it works, but I imagine I have some flaw in my brain that just doing this regularly kind of fixes. And I love doing it in like a color coded manner, which is like pretty nerdy, but I wonder if that's like an autism thing. Like I applied to this autism school. I love Simon too. There's something about like relating different little color things and trying to remember them and see how they fit together. Like some autistic, I applied to this autism school, some school for kids with autism, and on the thing they showed these little origami, like faceted little sculptures that had different colors, as though like autism kids, they like that. And I always have this image in my head of some autistic kid playing with a Rubik's Cube. And so, I don't know, there's something about my brain that just loves to do that. And it seems ridiculous, but this is my theory. This is my weird like theory. I'm going to try to substantiate it on ChatGPT. But my theory is that like doing this type of drawing versus just copying, you have to like, you're taking the information that you're looking at, but then you're sort of like describing it. You're sort of saying like, all right, so the shoulder is it's like twice as wide as it is tall, and it wraps around the tricep, and it connects between the brachialis and the tricep. Like you have to sort of like describe it to yourself in order to draw it in a certain perspective, because you can't just copy it. You have to sort of like describe it. It's either there's something about that feels good, and then my weird theory is that like rather than like reacting, you're sort of you're thinking, you're sort of considering some different factors and then making your decision by considering factors first. So you're like thinking and then doing. And my weird theory is that like that carries over to like the rest of my day. Like if I do this thing regularly, I feel more in the habit of like thinking about things before I act. I go like, all right, let's consider a few factors, then let's do something, rather than just like responding. I don't know, like something about it like, or it makes me feel like I have like a better grip on my mind. Maybe it's the focus or something. I don't know, but anyway, I really I love perspective drawing, particularly like isometric drawing of like cars or machines in perspective. Because the other thing I like about perspective drawing is there's a right answer where the mark goes. So it's not just like, oh, just let that paint fly wherever you feel like putting it. It's like there's actually like you gotta consider the proportion and the perspective, and then there's like a right place kind of to put the mark. Anyway, I just want to ask, as long as I'm here, nobody's watching, right? I just wonder, like, is there something with like do autistic kids like to play with Rubik's cubes? And is there something about like having a slight bit of autism that makes you kind of like, I don't know, fixated with like relating different parts and different colors and having everything be in its little category and stuff like that. Is that like autism type stuff?
Some autistic individuals may enjoy puzzles like the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, it's logical thinking, focus, and concentration. Just something about like zoning in. It's very soothing, and also like having to consider the perspective and just relate and thinking like, oh, this is the right place to put that thing with the right color. It's very pleasurable thing, and I just love. I should do it every day. I should just, if I was gonna do one type of art, I'm not even really good at like perspective drawing and line drawing, but it feels good to do. And so anyway, I just wanted to share my my love for perspective line drawing, particularly isometric, mechanical, and structural things. I love structure, and then a little anatomy and facial uh, faces and heads are fun to draw. I love perspective-y drawing. There's a guy, nobody's listening. There's a guy called Kim Jung-jia who's like the master at it. He recently died tragically at a pretty young age. But if you look at Kim Jung-ji, he was really amazing because he could draw something in perspective, and he didn't get too nuts about the perspective. It was enough in perspective to make it look cool. But then he would just make it really elaborate. Like he would just kind of make like a whole city from his imagination. He would spend mornings regularly just memorizing the components of different things like tanks or submarines or something like that, and then he would just draw freehand for like 5 hours or 3 hours, and he would just make like all these things like interconnected. I like that too. There's something logical about it. Like this object's position has to fit with this other object. Like the perspective has to be consistent with the neighboring things that are in perspective, and I just really love that. I love that type of art, and it just feels good to do, and it's really hard. That guy Kim Jung-jae, he could just crank out so much information really fast. It was really impressive. Anyway,